Our God is on his throne ruling the affairs of men. God does not change. His truths have not changed. He's promised a witness in the church according to the election of grace in all ages that will stand for the old paths, defending his truth. The Primitive Baptist Digital Library is pleased to present the Word of Sovereign Grace. Timely video messages based on the King James Bible and the doctrines taught by Christ and the apostles.
Chapters 19 and 20, from which I will hope to take some selected verses, try to bring some thoughts that may, with God's blessings, be beneficial. In these two chapters, Chronicles, we have much said about one of the kings of Judah. It would be in the time frame after the nation of Israel had experienced division. Some of the tribes from that time forth went by the name of Israel. One went by the name of Judah. Probably the tribe of Benjamin was retained as a part of Judah. I don't recall all the details of the historical nature, and I'm not deeply concerned with the history, but don't want to completely ignore it. The name of this king is Jehoshaphat. The name itself may be familiar. Seems as though I've heard common expressions used of it. Great jumping balls of Jehoshaphat, or something like that. He was king of Judah. During this period of time, the nation of Israel and the nation of Judah oftentimes experienced times of trouble. These nations, in some aspects at least, serve as types and shadows of the Church of God today. I think it would be fair to say that we sometimes have troubles. We sometimes have problems. Sometime during this meeting, something has been said to the extent that it isn't too much trouble to recognize the trouble. It isn't too much problem to recognize the problem. Sometimes it's difficult to find answers. I recognize that it is indeed true that before you can seek for an answer, it would be good to identify a problem. It would be good to know what the problem is. So oftentimes in our day and age, the problem is covered so many times by a smoke screen that it's very difficult sometimes to get down to what a problem is. This King Jehoshaphat was recognized as a good king. Now there were kings in Israel and in Judah that were not good kings. Some of them were spoken of as being evil, very evil. Some of them were spoken of as good kings. But even though sometimes there was a good king, things didn't always work out real well. Sometimes, even when the people of God are doing right, it seems like problems come in it. And sometimes it is difficult for us to ever get reconciled in our mind, well, just how can this happen? We've been doing so good. We've been doing right. We've been keeping house for God. How can it happen? Something explodes anyhow. Jehoshaphat, we read a little bit about in the 19th chapter. In spite of what's said in the first verse or two, it does say in the third verse, nevertheless there are good things found in thee, in that thou hast taken away the groves out of the land, and hast prepared thine heart to seek God. I don't have time to read for you all the material in chapters 19 and 20, but I want to reread this for a minute, and then we'll flip way over in chapter 20 and read a conclusion, sort of. It says here that Jehoshaphat has prepared thine heart to seek God. It says that thou hast taken away the groves out of the land. In the chapter 20, verse 33, we have an amazing expression. Even after all this is said about Jehoshaphat in between and what all went on, suddenly in verse 33 we have these words, howbeit the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their hearts unto the God of their fathers. Well, what can this mean? He said, first of all, that you've taken away the groves out of the land. Then the next thing you know, no, they hadn't all gone. You prepared your heart to seek God. No. Change it over. The people had not prepared. The point is, Jehoshaphat had, but the people hadn't. Jehoshaphat was attempting to do that which was right. It was good. The people were being turned in that direction, but they hadn't got there. Yet, great things do happen. In chapter 20, nice things are said in chapter 19. Closing out chapter 19, nice little expression says, and it's the kind of expression that I don't know whether we can qualify for it or not. We'll just read it and see. The appeal is made to God. The idea is told also to the people, deal courageously, and the Lord shall be with the good. Sometimes you read an expression like that, the Bible scares you. Qualify? Can you say I'm good? This expression says, oh, deal courageously. The Lord shall be with the good. In chapter 20, we have outlined the problem that's going to come upon Jehoshaphat and on the people of Judah. The opening verse of chapter 20 says, "It came to pass after this also that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon, and with them other, besides the Ammonites, came against Jehoshaphat to battle." The story of the nation of Israel is a story of conflict. A conflict with their neighbors. A conflict with the world. The story of the church of God. It's a story of conflict. Our calling is to live in this world, but yet separate from it. The calling of the people of God in all generations has to be, you're living here surrounded with many things, but you're to be different because you are different. Having been made different by grace, your life is to demonstrate that. You're to show that you are different. Jehoshaphat, in verse 3 of chapter 20, after seeing this alarming situation of his enemies gathering and having heard the word of it, and Jehoshaphat feared and set himself to seek the Lord and proclaim the fast throughout all Judah. You ever heard of fasting? Have you ever known of a church that fasted? How much history you know about our own people? Almost every association book that I've ever had a hold of to read, to see, many church books that I've looked at, I see a little reference made. The church set apart a certain Friday before a certain Sunday. Fasting, prayer. We are living in a generation that I dare say it hadn't happened. Maybe it has not in here about it. Would there be anything wrong to have some time set apart for fasting, prayer? Some of the circumstances in life that I have experienced not always been pleasant. Sometimes people have started to do the right thing and then wound up doing wrong anyhow. At least in my opinion. I recall a time in my boyhood days as a minister, being in an area where they had had a special prayer meeting for rain. They had had the prayer meeting before I got there. They'd already had the answer for their prayer meeting, and it rained. By the time I got there, though, they were trying to set a time to have thanksgiving for the rain that they'd got. They felt like that if they had fasted and prayed for rain, and then they were blessed with the rain, they ought to then have a prayer of thanksgiving for the rain. It's a pretty logical thought, don't you think? Would you believe they never did have the prayer of thanksgiving? Would you believe why? They couldn't decide on a time to have it. It was no problem to have a time to have the prayer fasting for rain because they were dry. But they got the rain. They began giving their excuses. Why? so-and-so will go come over and hit me, do my tobacco that day. Somebody couldn't go the next day because somebody else had something planned. And after dilly-dallying around for 15 minutes or more, they just threw up their hands and decided, we're not going to have a prayer for Thanksgiving. Let me basically say, that was in a Primitive Baptist church. I don't know whether I ever preached that day or not. Do you? Do you reckon a fellow could have heart? Just think about it. People of God, regardless of what comes, sometimes wind up being without appreciation. Here, though, Jehoshaphat set himself to seek the Lord and proclaim the fast. He did this out of fear. Folks do things sometimes out of fear, I think. A lot of things are done out of fear. Some things right are done out of fear. Some things wrong may also be done out of fear. I thought I could turn to a place I wanted to read. Maybe can, maybe can't. Probably can't. Didn't. There's a passage somewhere that says, when I was afraid, then I trusted in the Lord. That's about the way isn't it? When I got afraid, then I trusted in the Lord. What do I do when I'm not afraid? I'm afraid it's something besides trusting the Lord, don't you? But here, Judah has a problem. It's repeated again in verse 10. After all these things are said in between, in verse 10, and now behold, the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, whom thou wouldest not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt. They turned not from them and destroyed them not. Behold, I say, how they reward us to come to cast us out of thy possession, which thou hast given us to inherit. These folks that lived on Mount Seir, they were the descendants of Esau. His descendants never have been too happy with Israel. They still not. But this world is not happy with the church either. It still isn't. It won't be. We're separated from the world, supposed to be. Our greatest mark of distinction is when somebody can say those folks are different. When the person asks, you're a Baptist and I'm a Baptist, what's the difference? It's letting you know somebody recognizes there's a difference. There is a difference. They may not know what it is and may have to ask. They know there is a difference. These people have a reason to be afraid. They're vastly outnumbered. They've got folks coming at them from different directions. And they're in camp right now on the boundary, the border. And they're just ready to come get us. It's not too strange to what our present day situation is. We're surrounded by this world. They're not happy with us. Particularly, they're not happy with us if we raise our voice. I want to back up now, or come again. Verse 12. O our God, wilt thou not judge them? For we have no might against this great company that cometh against us. Neither know we what to do. You ever reach that kind of position? because we're in a problem. We're surrounded by enemies. You reach the point where you can confess and just say, Lord, they're around us. We're compassed about, and we just don't know what to do. The next little phrase says, but our eyes are upon thee. And all Judah stood before the Lord with their little ones, their wives, and their children. And then something takes place. I'll not read all those long words and big names, but a fellow that happened to be of the tribe of the Levites came. The Spirit of God was upon him, and he came with a message. Question mark comes out with this. We have a message for today, for the problems of the church of God. If we do, let's rest assured it needs to be that which is indicted by the Spirit of God. That's what they had. This is what the message of this man said. Hearken ye all, ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou king of Jehoshaphat. Thus saith the Lord unto you, be not afraid, nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours, but God's. Oh, what a message we need like that today. Instead of attempting to take the battle into our own hands, to recognize the battle is God's. It doesn't mean that we don't have to show up, but the battle is still God's. It goes on to say what they're to do. Tomorrow, you go down against them. Describe just where they are, what their way of travel is. But it also gives this assurance. Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord with you, O Judah and Jerusalem. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow, go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. They had some things to do. They need to be reminded this battle is the Lord's. All you need to do is show up. God will do the fighting. With all of the foes we have, we have to show up. We have to put in our appearance when we go in the strength of God. When we go waiting upon His direction, the battle won't be ours. It'll be His. He'll fight it. And victory will be the outcome. The only reason the church of God is still in the world today is because God is still in business. And He's still on the throne. My problem is I don't always get myself ready to go at the proper time. I don't always know how to stand still. I sometimes get over energetic. What else did they do? When they got there, they rose up early in the morning, verse 20, and went forth in the wilderness and so forth. Hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Lord your God. So shall ye be established. Believe His prophets. So shall ye prosper. What is a prophet? A prophet is a man that comes saying language like this. Thus saith the Lord. The word of the Lord came unto me, saying. Now that you watch this, what does the preacher of today do? If he is a true preacher, and if he preaches what he's supposed to preach, what does he preach? He has the authority to rise and say, the word of the Lord saith. And he hasn't got any authority to say anything else except what the word of the Lord saith. You're not responsible to believe anything I say of myself, nor any other man. But you are responsible as a church of God to believe what the Lord says. When the man of God comes with the word of the Lord, you're duty bound to accept it. This is what's said here. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. When he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto the Lord that should praise the beauty of holiness. I'm not going to go into long detail about the beauty of holiness, just going to say it's short and sweet. Beauty of holiness is a separated people that says, I'm not of the world, I'm in it, but I'm not of it. That's sanctified, dedicated, consecrated. Holiness unto the Lord is to come out, be ye separate. As they went out before the army to say, praise the Lord, for his mercy endureth forever. When they began to sing and praise, the Lord set ambushments against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, which were come against Judah. They were smitten. The children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir. They got so confused among their own selves, they started fighting with each other. When they got through whipping Mount Seir, the next thing you know, they got fighting some more with each other. The next thing you know, when Judah came toward the watchtower in the wilderness and looked unto the multitude, behold, there were dead bodies fallen to the earth, and none escaped. Skipping a few verses, verse 27. Then they returned, every man of Judah and Jerusalem, and Jehoshaphat in the forefront of them, to go again to Jerusalem with joy, for the Lord had made them to rejoice over their enemies. A little further on, and the fear of God was on all the kings of those countries when they heard that the Lord fought against the enemies of Israel. So the realm of Jehoshaphat was quiet, for his God gave him rest round about. Jehoshaphat reigned over Judah. Goes on. It says concerning him, and he walked in the way of Asa his father, and departed not from it, doing that which was right in the sight of God. And then we come to that closing verse that I already read to you. Howbeit, the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their heart unto God, the God of their fathers. What this is saying in simplicity, you may win for a day, but there's more problems that are coming. There's a need for continual consecration unto God. There is a need for a continual looking for the removal of the high places. What do high places mean here? Those groves and things like that. They were the place where the worship of idols took place. Usually only in those high places and in those groves they had idols. These got so bad, sometimes they desired not only to get rid of the idol, but to get rid of the meeting place for those that were going to worship God, even meant. Sometimes they cut down the groves. Sometimes they dig down the altars that were in wrong places. seemed like maybe Jehoshaphat got rid of them for a moment once, but the last time you looked, is back. Is that not our story? Is that not the picture of the Church of God as we know it today? I'm not all that old, but I've been around, and I've had my head in the book, history of our people. If you want to know what our people have believed, you can find out. If you want to know what problems we're having today, all you have to do is look back a generation, they had them too. Look back another generation behind that, they had them too. If you want to know how our people solved some of the problems in the past, there are accounts written about it. If you want to count yourself as a good, orderly, primitive Baptist, it might be a good idea to see what some of the good, orderly, primitive Baptists did 50 years ago, 75 years ago, 100 years ago. Measure yourself. Were they wrong? I call attention to just this. Maybe somebody will do a good job of reprinting. I've been having to make copies to furnish people off, a few off. I'd like to see them reprinted sometime. A little pamphlet called the National Peace Meeting at Donaldson, Arkansas, about 1952 or 3. Or the National Council of about 1936 or 7. I don't know whether Brother Rich ever saw those or not. But what he preached here last night come directly out of it. It's out of the Bible too. But what I want to be able to say this is, our people have printed in plain words what we believe the Bible teaches on some subjects. It's not that the Bible doesn't teach it, but we can find out what our people said about it 50 years ago, 75 years ago, whatever. And you sort of measure a little bit and see, do you believe what they believed? I believe exactly what Brother Rich said myself. I believe that all men are responsible before God. And to make it real plain, on the marital arrangement, I believe that the law of God governing marriage is binding on the unregenerate just as it is the regenerate. Amen. That's what is said in those documents. Not that that made it so, but that's what was said. You want to still be where our folks have been? I'm not ready to leave yet, but I'm going to have to quit preaching for this time. May God bless you and keep you.
Before the throne of God above, I have a strong, a perfect plea, a great high priest whose name is love, whoever lives and pleads for me.
Visit the Primitive Baptist Digital Library for videos, articles, history, hymns, and encouragement. www.primitivebaptist.net.
I know that while in heaven he stands, no tongue can bid me thence depart, no tongue can